This A-Team adventure is called You Lose Snake's Eyes. You can read along with me in your book. You will know it is time to turn the page when you hear this.
In 1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
In answer to the pleas of a very worried young woman, Hannibal has called at her home to find out how the A-Team can be of assistance. He is admitted by an auburn-haired girl who seems dressed for an evening out.
I can't tell you how relieved I am to see you, Mr. Smith.
Hannibal takes out a cigar.
Just tell me how the A-Team can be of help.
My father runs a one-man business, driving parties of people on trips and excursions in his bus. Recently, he's been driving a group of men around, and I've noticed that he's been getting more and more worried. He's gotten so worried that now he's too sick to drive. A guy telephoned and said that unless he carries on driving them or finds someone to do it for him, they'll give evidence to the police that he's a crooked gambler and he'll be sent to jail.
Is your father a gambler?
He only ever gambled once. The guys he drives invited him out to the casino, and he won a great deal of money. Enough to pay off the finance company who advanced a loan on the bus. If they prove he was crooked, we've lost everything.
Tough. You're wearing a very fancy frock. Planning on going somewhere?
Well, if you hadn't come, I was going to go down to the casino and tell the guys that I'd drive the bus for them myself.
We'll come with you. Tell them you found a driver for them.
Oh.
An old friend of your father's. Me.
The A-Team step out lively down the street to the casino. The girl introduces Hannibal to a man who accepts his offer as driver and invites him to play craps, even giving him the money for his opening stakes. It's a waste of cash, say the others. Hannibal's no craps player, but tonight he is. The dice always fall right for him. The rest of the A-Team are amazed. The next morning, Hannibal drives a green bus containing half a dozen men out into the desert. He is surprised when he's told to stop. The men all change into red ski costumes and put on black hoods. He is told that it is all part of a club called the Crimson Cobras that the men have formed, and they mount some balloon-tired vehicles that are concealed behind the dunes.
It's our way of getting kicks. Now, you drive that bus like crazy and we'll buzz around you and make like we're chasing you. Don't make it easy for us. That's all part of the fun.
When the men have had enough of driving around the desert, the leader of the club compliments Hannibal.
You drive good, but just remember, the Crimson Cobras is a secret society, and we want to keep it that way. In case you should be tempted to spread the word, I should tell you that you were playing with loaded dice last night, and there are plenty of witnesses who can prove it.
Knowing that he's no longer on his own, the girl's father feels better about things and is able to drive the bus himself for the Crimson Cobras on their next outing. Hannibal and Face take the A-Team van and follow at a discreet distance. They find a concealed vantage point behind a ridge, and Hannibal lies in his stomach and observes the antics of the Crimson Cobras through a pair of powerful binoculars. He notices that this time the men are armed.
Obviously, they're rehearsing some kind of attack. They put in this amount of practice. It must be a one-off and something special.
Then he sees an armored truck coming along the desert road. He thinks this must be the target, but there is nothing he can do. The Cobras also see the armored truck coming in the distance. Hannibal expects them to group together in attack formation, and he calls across to Face.
There's no way we can interfere here. We're hopelessly outgunned. Let's get in the van and see if we can head off that truck before it gets here. We might just make it.
But Face has noticed something strange.
They're not gonna attack. They're getting off their vehicles.
Sure enough, the Crimson Cobras have concealed their transport, changed out of their red uniforms, and got back into the green bus. Then the bus sets off on its journey back to town, well ahead of the armored truck.
So, you were wrong. That's not the target. Okay, Face. Give them time to get into town. Then we'll be on our way, too.
Later, the A-team get together again and meet up with the girl and her father. Hannibal questions the man.
Have they ever told you what they're after?
No, and I don't want to know. This whole thing scares me enough as it is. The more they know I know, the worse position I'll be in.
I was sure they were going to attack that armored truck.
Not much point. It was empty.
Empty?
Sure. That was a special truck being brought in to take out an extra valuable load of cash and bullion tomorrow.
So that must be it. Tomorrow's when they'll make the hit. Have they asked you to take them out to the desert tomorrow?
Yeah, but if that's what's going to happen, I guess I don't want to be a part of it.
Don't go sick on us again. It'll be okay. We'll go out there again tonight. We can seize up their vehicles and be waiting for them when they arrive tomorrow. You stay here, Face. See how things go this end. Set up the radio so we can keep in touch should anything develop.
The girl fixes Face up with a room in the house, and he fetches equipment from the van and arranges a radio system that will allow the A-team to communicate with each other without being overheard by outsiders. Then Hannibal, B.A., and Murdoch get into the van and drive out into the desert. The girl goes off with her father, and Face is left alone. When the music stops, turn your cassette over. He's dozing in an armchair, ready to wake immediately if any sound should come over the radio, when the door opens quietly and two masked members of the Cobras come into the room. Their eyes glint evilly through their masks as if someone had thrown a pair of deuces in a crap game. They cover Face with guns, and one of them produces a hypodermic syringe and injects him with its contents.
Just a drug that'll send you into a deep sleep. And once you're asleep, you will be powerless to resist our questions. Now, tell us about your friends. Who is this man? Answer!
The masked man produces a photograph of Hannibal. Face opens his eyes and stares vacantly at the photograph held before them. The picture of Hannibal releases in his drugged mind all the memories of the amazing adventures that he and the A-team have been involved in. With barely a pause, he pours out accounts of the incredible situations they have been involved in and the unlikely ways they have used to extricate themselves. The two masked men look bewildered. Face goes on to talk about the attitude of B.A. and Murdoch to each other. The masked man can listen to no more.
This guy's an idiot. Crazy. Nobody could do the things he's talking about. He's just a dreamer. There's nothing in his head but fantasy. We got nothing to worry about from him and his friends.
In order to conceal the fact that Face has been drugged, the two men dump him on the couch and sprinkle liquor over him. They put an empty glass on the floor beside him.
Anyone finds him, they'll think he's drunk. Doubt whether they'll be surprised. A guy with that kind of imagination must be drunk most of the time.
The men go silently, leaving Face unconscious on the couch. It's some time later that the girl looks in to see if Face would like some coffee. She is shocked by the condition in which she finds him and uncertain what to do. The radio bursts into life, and she hears Hannibal's voice.
Soon approaching our objective. Everything okay?
The girl rushes over to the radio and blurts into the microphone.
Everything is not okay. Your guy is just lying here out of his mind. He's drunk.
Not Face. Not on a job. Something's happened to him. We're turning round right now and coming back.
The A-Team van, with Hannibal, B.A., and Murdoch, races back to town. Hannibal examines Face and realizes what has happened.
He's been given some kind of truth drug. We can't tell how much he's told whoever gave it to him. We'll just have to assume they know everything.
Hannibal gives Face a shot to bring him round, and then the phone rings. It's the Crimson Cobras for the girl's father, telling him their next trip has been brought forward. They need him to take them out into the desert now. The man takes his bus to pick up the Cobras, and the A-Team follow in their van, making sure that they keep well back, out of sight. Hannibal is reassured.
From the way they're behaving, they don't seem to expect to be followed. It looks as though you told them nothing, Face.
I can't even remember what they asked me.
When the van is close to the place where the Cobras keep their vehicles, they come to a halt.
What do? Do we take them now? Or wait until they are occupied with the armored truck and come up behind them?
Hannibal has the answer to Murdoch's question.
We'll get out and scout around on foot first.
As they leave the van, a stun grenade comes from nowhere, explodes, and throws them all to the ground. B.A. is indignant.
Someone's trying to bust my wheels. That's not nice.
Never mind your wheels. What about my head?
B.A. ignores Murdoch's plaintive plea and gets up on one knee and starts firing in the direction from which the grenade has come. Hannibal is apologetic.
I guess they knew more than we thought, B.A.
Seems so. Quit the talk and get your hardware. I'll keep you covered.
Hannibal, Murdoch, and Face go back to the van for their guns, while B.A. sprays the air before him with a cloud of deadly lead. A voice is heard from below the ridge.
Okay, you guys, stop firing. I surrender.
B.A. lowers his gun.
Come on now where we can see you, and no more of those fancy grenades.
The girl's father appears with his hands in the air. Hannibal takes out a cigar.
Well. I thought we were on your side.
I'm sorry, but those Cobra guys have promised me part of the heist they get from that armored truck. If you guys stop them, I get nothing.
If we don't stop them, they'll give you nothing but a bullet in the back.
From beyond the ridge, they hear the sound of the armored truck approaching. Then, added to that, is the roar of the Crimson Cobra's balloon-tired vehicles and the report of heavy-caliber machine guns. The A-Team swing into action. As they top the rise, they see that the armored truck has been forced to a halt, and the Cobras are forming around it, ready for the final strike. With guns blazing, the A-Team race up behind the ambushers, aiming at the great balloon tires on their vehicles. Where the tires burst, their transport is immobilized. Flight and defense are impossible. The Crimson Cobras surrender. The driver and guard of the armored truck have been wounded, and Murdoch and B.A. help them onto the green bus and tell the bus driver to take them into hospital in town.
And report sick yourself when you get there, man. Anyone who thinks they can take on the A-Team on their own must be sick in the head.
The defeated Cobras are locked up in the back of the armored truck and will be left there until the A-Team inform the authorities. The leader of the Cobras scowls at Face.
And we didn't believe your stories about you and your friends.
Hannibal smiles broadly.